Have you ever sat down to chant with sincere effort, only to feel more restless when you stand up than when you began? Have you ever finished a full session and thought, "I did the practice, so why does my heart still feel like boiling water?" Welcome back to the channel. Today I want to share something simple, almost too simple, yet it quietly decides whether spiritual practice becomes medicine or becomes another form of exhaustion. The first idea is this: the power is not only in the method you choose, but in the mind you bring to it. The second idea is this: many people do not fail because they lack devotion. They struggle because they never truly gather the mind. They bring a divided mind to a path that requires wholeness, and then they wonder why nothing changes. Let us talk about what a divided mind looks like in real life, because in modern life it does not look dramatic. It looks normal. It looks like a phone buzz, a quick glance, a scroll, a reply, a second scroll, a sudden memory, a half-formed worry, and then the body is still sitting in front of the altar while the mind is already running down 5 different streets. You mouth a mantra while your brain negotiates tomorrow. You hold beads while your heart replays an argument from last week. You bow while your pride is secretly keeping score. Most people think distraction is just a small flaw, like a little dust on a table. In practice, distraction is a whole weather system. It is the invisible wind that pushes your thoughts around. It is the habit of leaving your own life again and again to chase what is loud, urgent, and unresolved. And when you finally sit down to practice, that wind does not magically stop. It comes with you. It has been trained for years. There is an old image I love because it is so honest. If a bowl of water is constantly stirred, you cannot see your reflection. You only see waves. That is the modern mind. We keep stirring it with news, comparison, entertainment, and endless planning. Then we sit down and ask for clarity. But clarity is not something you demand from moving water. Clarity is what appears when you stop stirring. So today, I want to do this in a grounded way. Not preaching, not forcing belief. I want to tell you a story that can hold your hand and show you what is really happening when you feel more chaotic after chanting. And I want to connect it to the heart of Buddhist training, because the heart of the training is always the same: awakening, wisdom, karma, compassion, practice, destiny, not as abstract ideas, but as living forces shaping your days. Let me introduce someone I will call Aaron. Aaron was not lazy. That is important. He was the kind of person who would do the work. If you told him a practice could help, he would show up. He woke early. He chanted before work. He listened to teachings on his commute. He volunteered on weekends. On paper, he looked like the model student, but inside, he felt like a shaken jar of sand. The more he did, the more tense he became. He would finish chanting and feel a strange fatigue, like he had been wrestling something invisible. Sometimes he would even feel irritated, which made him ashamed. He thought practice was supposed to make him kinder, softer, clearer. Instead, he was becoming sharper, more judgmental, more easily triggered. One evening he called me and said something that many people never admit. He said, "I think the Dharma is not working for me." He said it quietly, like he was confessing a crime. I asked him a question that sounded almost rude. "Where is your mind when you chant?" He answered quickly, "It is on the mantra." I did not argue. I just asked, "Are you sure?" Silence. Then he laughed nervously. He said, I try." That is where the real story begins, because most spiritual struggle is not about a lack of trying. It is about not seeing what is actually happening. I asked him to describe one session in detail, as if he were describing a scene in a movie. He described sitting down. He described lighting incense. He described beginning the chant. And then the leaks started appearing. At first he would think about work, not because he wanted to, but because his mind was trained to scan for problems. He worked in a place where one missed detail could cost him money, status, or safety. So his mind would produce a list. Then he would think about a message he had not answered. Then he would remember a conversation with his partner and feel a sting of defensiveness. Then he would think about his parents and feel guilt. Then he would think about his health and feel worry. Then he would think, I am distracted again. I am failing again. I am not good enough. So even when he remembered to return to the mantra, he returned with frustration. His body was chanting. His mind was fighting. His heart was bargaining. It was like trying to calm a frightened horse by yanking the reins harder and harder. This is why many people feel worse after practice, because practice reveals what has been hidden under noise. When you sit in silence, you begin hearing the mind. When you chant, the mantra becomes a mirror. It shows you how many voices are inside you. And at first, that can feel like chaos increasing. In truth, it is awareness increasing. But there is another layer. Aaron was not only distracted, he was mixed. He was chanting while secretly negotiating. He wanted peace, but he wanted it on his schedule. He wanted blessings, but he wanted them as proof that he was doing it right. He wanted spiritual progress, but he also wanted to beat someone else in an invisible competition. He wanted compassion, but he also wanted to be admired for being compassionate. This is what mixed mind looks like. The mouth says one thing, the heart wants another, the ego wants a third, and the result is inner friction. You can chant for an hour and feel like you ran up a hill, not because chanting is heavy, but because you are dragging 3 different selves in 3 different directions. In Buddhist language, this is not just distraction. It is karmic habit energy. It is the momentum of craving, aversion, and confusion. It is the restless seeking mind. It is the mind that cannot stay home. When you bring that mind to practice, you can still get benefits, but it is like pouring water into a bucket with holes. You keep pouring, you get tired, then you conclude that water is useless. The problem is not the water. The problem is that you never repaired the bucket. Aaron did what many sincere people do. He tried to fix it by adding more. He added more chants, more texts, more sessions, more rules. He made a schedule. He made it strict. He turned practice into a performance review. And that is when his body began to break down. He began waking at night with tightness in his chest. He began snapping at small things. His partner began feeling abandoned, because even when he was home, his mind was still chasing a spiritual checklist. So I gave him an experiment that felt almost embarrassingly small. I said, for 10 minutes, chant one simple phrase, but do it with one condition. Every time you chant a line, you must actually hear it, not in theory. Hear it like you are listening to someone you love. He tried. At first, he thought 10 minutes would be easy. Then he discovered the truth. 10 minutes of true attention is harder than an hour of half attention. After 2 minutes, his mind ran away. He brought it back. After 10 seconds, it ran away again. He brought it back. He began sweating. He began feeling annoyed. He began thinking, this is ridiculous. Then something important happened. He saw clearly how trained his mind was to leave. It was not a personal failure. It was conditioning. Years of jumping from stimulus to stimulus. Years of training the nervous system to chase urgency. Years of feeding the habit of fragmentation. When you see that clearly, a strange compassion can arise. You stop bullying yourself. You realize, my mind is not evil. It is simply untamed, like a puppy that never learned where home is. And once you stop bullying, you can begin training. Training does not mean forcing. Training means returning, again and again, not with anger, with patience, with kindness, with quiet determination. This is where practice becomes real, because real practice is not a moment of inspiration. Real practice is the willingness to return 1,000 times without turning the return into self-hatred. Aaron began doing this 10-minute practice each day. He did not add more. He actually did less, but he did it more honestly. Something subtle began to change. At first, the only change was that he noticed distractions sooner. That is already wisdom, because when you notice sooner, you suffer less. A thought can still appear, but it does not have time to grow into a full story that hijacks you for half an hour. Then he noticed something else. The moment he returned to the chant, his body relaxed slightly, not because the chant was magical in a fantasy sense, but because his attention was no longer scattered. It was like gathering a flashlight beam. When the beam is scattered, it lights nothing well. When it is gathered, it illuminates. This is the principle of one-pointed mind. It is not a mystical concept reserved for monks. It is the basic physics of attention. What you repeatedly attend to, you strengthen. If you repeatedly attend to worry, you strengthen worry. If you repeatedly attend to resentment, you strengthen resentment. If you repeatedly attend to a phrase that embodies refuge, compassion, and clarity, you strengthen those qualities. This is karma in a very practical form. Karma is not only what happens to you from outside. Karma is the pattern you keep recreating inside. The mind is a maker of worlds. It builds your next moment out of your current habits. When you gather the mind, you change what you are building. Now let me tell you another story, because sometimes one story shows the mind, but another shows the heart. A woman I will call Maya told me she could not feel anything in practice. She said she chanted every day but felt numb. She said she listened to teachings but nothing landed. She said she was tired. She thought she had become spiritually dull. When I asked about her life, it became clear she was carrying grief, not the kind she talked about, the kind she swallowed. Years of trying to be strong. Years of being the one who holds everyone else together. She had become functional, but emotionally frozen. She believed chanting should create comfort, but her heart had locked itself as a survival strategy. So when she sat down, the chanting touched the lock, and the lock resisted. That resistance felt like numbness. Many people interpret numbness as a sign of failure. Sometimes numbness is a sign that your heart is protecting you because it does not trust that it is safe to feel. And spiritual practice, when done with sincerity, begins to melt the armor. But melting armor can feel uncomfortable. It can feel like chaos. It can feel like nothing is working. I told Maya something that changed her relationship with chanting. I said, do not chase a feeling. Bring a vow. Bring a direction. Even if your heart feels nothing, let your intention be clear. May my mind become kind. May I stop harming myself. May I stop harming others. May I meet this life with wisdom. A vow is not a demand. A vow is a compass. When you have a compass, you can walk even in fog. She began chanting not to get a sensation, but to plant a seed. She began chanting as an act of kindness toward her future self. She began chanting as a way to stop feeding the old stories. Within weeks, she told me, I still have distractions. I still feel numb sometimes. But now I feel a little more honest. I feel a little more gentle. I do not feel like I am failing. I feel like I am learning. That shift is not small. That shift is destiny changing. Because when you stop interpreting your inner life as failure, you stop adding self-violence on top of pain. And when you stop adding self-violence, you stop creating new karma of harshness. You begin creating karma of compassion. And compassion is not only something you give to others. Compassion is the foundation of stable practice. Now, there is a teaching many people ignore because it sounds too simple. When you do not know what to do, return to the teachings, return to the sutras, return to the clear instructions. In every generation, people want shortcuts. People want a technique that bypasses the mind. People want a practice that works even if they remain scattered, resentful, and addicted to comparison. But the Dharma is not a vending machine. It is a path of transformation, and transformation requires sincerity. This is why the Buddha emphasized the training of mind, ethics, concentration, wisdom, sila, samadhi, prana. They support each other. If you ignore ethics, the mind becomes restless with guilt and craving. If you ignore concentration, the mind becomes scattered and weak. If you ignore wisdom, the mind becomes trapped in wrong views and endless confusion. Many people want wisdom, but they do not train concentration. They want peace, but they keep feeding agitation. They want blessings, but they keep leaking merit through careless speech and careless consumption. I want to be very practical here. What causes the most leakage in modern practice is not a lack of devotion. It is fragmentation. The mind is trained by the phone to switch every few seconds. The mind is trained by social media to compare. The mind is trained by constant content to crave novelty. Then you sit down and ask for depth. You ask for stillness. You ask for awakening. But the mind cannot suddenly do what it has never practiced. So the path begins with a humble honesty. I have trained my mind to be scattered. Now, I will train it to return. Returning is not glamorous. Returning is not a mystical peak experience. Returning is ordinary. You return to the breath. You return to the chant. You return to the body. You return to the present moment. You return to compassion. You return to the intention not to harm. This is how you build a mind that can actually hold the Dharma. Let me offer an image that might help. Imagine your attention is a lamp. When the lamp flickers, the room never fully brightens. You can walk, but you keep bumping into things. You keep misreading people. You keep reacting. You keep creating regrets. Practice is not about decorating the room. It is about steadying the lamp. When the lamp becomes steady, you begin seeing what you could not see before. You see the moment a harsh thought arises. You see the moment jealousy begins to form. You see the moment you are about to speak from anger. You see the moment you are about to numb yourself with endless scrolling. That seeing is awakening in daily life. It is not the final awakening of a Buddha, but it is the beginning of liberation. Because once you see, you have choice. Choice is where karma changes. Now I want to go deeper into the specific problem many of you wrote to me about. You say, I chant, but my mind becomes even more chaotic. Or you say, I feel nothing. Or you say, I become tired and irritated. Here are the most common hidden causes, explained as a story of the mind. First, you are trying to use chanting as control. You are chanting to force life to behave. You are chanting to get a result. You are chanting to stop discomfort. That is understandable. But the more you chant as control, the more your mind stays in grasping. And grasping is agitation. So the practice becomes another form of grasping. It cannot give peace because your intention is not peace. Your intention is control. Second, you are chanting while chewing on old emotions. You chant, but you keep replaying a conflict. You chant, but you keep holding a grudge. You chant, but you keep judging yourself. This is like pouring clean water into a cup filled with dye. The water enters, but it is immediately colored. Third, you are treating the practice like a performance. You want to be a good practitioner. You want to do it correctly. You want to be seen. Even if no one is watching. The inner judge is watching. The inner judge is loud. And when the inner judge is loud, the mind cannot settle. Fourth, you are exhausted and overstimulated. You are chanting at the end of a day filled with screens, conflict, caffeine, and speed. Then you expect instant calm. But the nervous system is not a switch. It is a field. You cannot plant chaos all day and harvest stillness instantly at night. The mind needs gentleness. It needs fewer inputs. It needs the discipline of simplicity. None of these are reasons to quit. They are reasons to adjust. In Buddhist practice, adjustment is wisdom, not rigid perfection. Let me return to Aaron, because his story shows exactly how adjustment works. After a month of 10 minutes of true attention, he wanted to do more. He asked if he should increase time. I said, increase sincerity first. So he made one change in his life that seemed unrelated to spirituality. He stopped checking his phone for the first 30 minutes of the day. Instead, he drank water, washed his face, and sat down. No news, no messages, no scrolling. The first week was uncomfortable. His mind kept reaching for the phone like a hungry hand. That hunger is not trivial. It is a form of craving. Craving creates karma. Craving keeps the mind restless. So, by learning to sit with the hunger, he was already practicing. Then his chanting changed, not because he became a saint, but because the mind was less stirred before practice. He also made one change in how he interpreted thoughts during chanting. Before, a thought meant failure. Now, a thought meant an opportunity to return. That shift is huge, because when you label distraction as failure, you add shame. Shame tightens the mind. A tight mind cannot settle. But when you label distraction as opportunity, you stay gentle. A gentle mind can return. This is compassion applied to the mind. And compassion is not sentimental. Compassion is skillful. Compassion is what allows you to continue without burning out. Now let us talk about the deeper spiritual meaning of one-pointedness, because it is not only about attention. It is about integrity. A divided mind is not only scattered, it is also dishonest. Not intentionally, but functionally. It says one thing and wants another. It prays for wisdom, but feeds confusion. It asks for peace, but fuels conflict. It wishes for blessings, but spends merit carelessly through harsh speech and careless waste. When you gather the mind, you also gather your life. You become less split between what you value and what you do. That is integrity. Integrity brings inner strength. Inner strength brings calm. Calm brings clarity. Clarity brings wisdom. Wisdom brings better choices. Better choices change karma. Changed karma changes destiny. This is the chain. It is not mystical. It is lawful. It is the law of cause and effect in the mind. So the question becomes, how do we practice one-pointedness in a world designed to scatter us? The answer is not to reject the world. The answer is to be awake inside it, to train small moments of return throughout the day. If you can return while washing dishes, you can return while chanting. If you can return while walking to your car, you can return while sitting. If you can return while feeling anger rise, you can return while repeating a mantra. Practice is not only on the cushion. Practice is the habit of return. Now, I want to tell you a story within a story, because this one is about a person who thought he was spiritually weak, but he was actually spiritually strong in a hidden way. I will call him Daniel. Daniel told me he had tried many methods. He had tried chanting different names. He had tried different mantras. He had tried meditation apps. He had tried reading books. Nothing lasted. He felt like a failure. He said his mind was too scattered for spirituality. But when I listened carefully, I realized something. Daniel was not scattered because he was hopeless. He was scattered because he was afraid. He lived with a constant background fear that life could collapse. That fear came from childhood instability. When you grow up in instability, the mind becomes a guard. It scans for threats. It plans. It worries. It does not relax, because relaxation once meant danger. So when Daniel sat down to chant, he was not just distracted. He was guarded. He was holding the practice like a shield. He was asking it to protect him from the world. And because he was guarded, he could not fully open to it. So I told him to shift the goal, not to get calm, not to get protection. The goal was to learn trust. Slowly, I said, begin each session by acknowledging fear. Say quietly, fear is here. Then say, and I am here too. Then begin chanting gently. This is mindful compassion. You do not push fear away. You do not make it a problem. You treat it like a child that has been alone too long. Over time, Daniel began to feel something unexpected. He began to feel less alone with his mind. He began to feel that practice was not another job, but a home. When practice becomes home, one-pointedness becomes natural, because you do not have to force yourself to stay. You want to stay. This is why in Buddhism, devotion and refuge matter, not as blind belief, but as emotional safety for the heart. When you sincerely take refuge, you are telling the nervous system, there is a direction, there is a path. I am not alone. I can return. That return is the core of spiritual life. Now, let us address the phrase that many people misunderstand. One mind. People hear one mind and they think it means no thoughts. That is not realistic at first. One mind means not splitting yourself into competing agendas. It means letting the practice be the practice, letting chanting be chanting, letting that moment be whole. When you sit down to chant, for that period, you are not also negotiating your future. You are not also replaying your past. You are not also auditioning for approval. You are simply practicing. When a thought arises, you do not fight it. You do not chase it. You do not judge it. You simply return. This is samadhi training. And samadhi training is not only for spiritual experiences. It is the foundation of wisdom in daily life. Because a scattered mind makes stupid choices, even if the person is intelligent. A scattered mind says yes to things it does not want. A scattered mind lashes out and later regrets it. A scattered mind spends money it should not spend. A scattered mind forgets what matters. A gathered mind can see consequences earlier. A gathered mind can pause. A gathered mind can choose kindness. A gathered mind can accept discomfort without creating drama. That is wisdom. And wisdom changes karma in a very direct way. When you stop planting seeds of harm, your life becomes less angled. When you plant seeds of kindness, your relationships soften. When you plant seeds of patience, your mind becomes lighter. When you plant seeds of generosity, your world becomes less fearful. This is why Buddha's practice always returns to cause and effect, not to threaten you, but to empower you. You are not helpless. You are planting seeds every day. Now, some of you might be thinking, this sounds good, but my mind is so chaotic that I cannot even begin. Let me offer a simple story that shows how beginning works. There was a man who wanted to calm a lake. He went to the lake and shouted at it, "Calm down." The lake did not calm. He threw rocks at it. The lake became more turbulent. He became angry and said the lake was broken. Then an old person walked by and said, "Stop throwing rocks." That is the beginning of practice. Most of us keep throwing rocks into our own mind. We throw rocks of judgment, rocks of comparison, rocks of rushing, rocks of content overload, rocks of harsh speech, rocks of overthinking at midnight. Then we sit down and ask for calm. The first step is to stop throwing rocks, even a little. Maybe you reduce the last 30 minutes of screen time at night. Maybe you do not scroll right before chanting. Maybe you take 3 slow breaths before you begin. Maybe you start with 5 minutes instead of forcing an hour. Maybe you pick one method and stay with it for a season, instead of switching constantly, because constant switching is also a divided mind. It is a mind that cannot commit. It is a mind that wants quick results. But practice is gradual. Practice ripens. Practice is like growing a tree. You do not pull on the leaves to make them grow. In the teachings, there is a repeated warning about mixing, not mixing methods in a reasonable way, but mixing intentions, mixing practice with desire for reward, mixing devotion with pride, mixing virtue with secret cruelty, mixing prayer with resentment. This mixing creates inner conflict. Inner conflict creates fatigue. Fatigue leads to doubt. Doubt leads to quitting. And quitting leads to a life where the mind remains scattered and suffering remains unexamined. So how do we unmix the mind? We begin by clarifying intention. Before you chant, ask yourself quietly, what is my real intention in this moment? If the intention is control, soften it. If the intention is to prove something, release it. If the intention is to escape life, return to a healthier intention. Healthier intention sounds like this. May I be more awake. May I reduce harm. May I cultivate compassion. May I understand my mind. May I accept what is true. May I respond wisely. These intentions align with awakening. They align with wisdom. They align with karma. They align with compassion. They align with practice. They align with destiny. When your intention aligns, the mind begins to gather. Then you practice the gentle return. If you want a simple formula, here it is in plain language. Hear the sound. Feel the breath. Notice the mind. Return. Hear the sound. Feel the breath. Notice the mind. Return. This is the whole training. It is small, but it is endless, and it changes everything. Now I want to expand the story further, because many of you are not only dealing with distraction, you are dealing with deep emotional storms, anxiety, depression, anger, regret, fear. Chanting can bring these storms to the surface. That does not mean chanting caused them. It means chanting removed the lid. Think about a pot of water on a stove. If you keep the lid on, you do not see the boil. You think everything is fine. Then you lift the lid and steam rushes out. You might think the boil increased. No, you simply became aware of it. Practice makes you aware. Awareness is the first step of liberation, but awareness without kindness can become torture. So the second step is compassion. Compassion means you treat your own mind as something worthy of care, not something to conquer. This is why in many traditions, people connect chanting with the spirit of compassion. Like Avalokiteshvara, the point is not superstition. The point is to remember that the mind softens when it remembers compassion. Compassion is not weakness. Compassion is power. Compassion is what allows you to see your own pain without turning it into violence. And violence can be subtle. Violence can be the way you speak to yourself. Violence can be the way you first practice with a clenched jaw. Violence can be the way you use spiritual language to shame yourself. Drop that. Return to gentle training. Now, let us talk about a common misunderstanding. People think that if they are not feeling something special, the practice is not working. Though what if the practice is working by making you less reactive, which feels ordinary? What if the practice is working by giving you a small pause before you explode, which feels subtle? What if the practice is working by making you more aware of your own patterns, which feels uncomfortable? These are real results. They are the results that lead to freedom. The mind that chases special experiences is still a craving mind. It wants to consume spirituality like it consumes entertainment. But spirituality is not consumption. It is transformation. Transformation is oft unquiet. Sometimes the greatest blessing is not a miracle. It is a moment where you do not create new harm. A moment where you hold your tongue. A moment where you choose patience. A moment where you apologize. A moment where you forgive. A moment where you stop scrolling and actually sleep. A moment where you take one breath and return. These moments accumulate. They become a new destiny. This is why the Buddha taught that a single moment of clear mind has immeasurable value. Because in that moment, you are not feeding the old cycle. You are stepping out of it. Now I will share something personal in a way that fits an English-speaking audience. Because I know many of you live in busy cities and high-pressure environments. There was a season in my life when I was outwardly functional and inwardly exhausted. My calendar was full. My mind was always planning. I was the kind of person who could explain mindfulness and still not live it. I could talk about compassion and still snap at someone I loved. That is the gap many of us live in. We know the words, but the nervous system has not learned the reality. I remember one night sitting down to chant and feeling irritation rise almost immediately, not because anything happened in the room, but because my inner world was crowded. My mind was complaining. This is boring. This is not working. You should be doing something productive. You are falling behind. Then another voice said, "You are not spiritual enough. You are failing again." I realized that even my practice had become a battlefield of identities. Productive person versus spiritual person. Good person versus bad person. Successful person versus failing person. That inner war was the real suffering, not the busy schedule, not the external problems. The war. So I did something simple. I stopped trying to win. I stopped trying to be anything. I simply returned to sound. One line, one breath, one return. At first it felt small and useless. Then I noticed that in those moments of return, the war paused, the identities quieted. Not forever, but briefly. And in those brief pauses, I felt something that I had been missing. Space. Space is where wisdom enters. If the mind is crowded, wisdom has no room. Space is where compassion enters. If the mind is tight, compassion cannot flow. Space is where you can see consequences. If the mind is rushing, you only react. So I began valuing space more than achievement. That shift changed everything. And here is the irony. When you value space, you become more effective in life. Because you stop wasting energy on inner war, you become more present. You communicate better. You make fewer impulsive choices. You sleep better. You recover faster. You become kinder. This is not mystical. It is the natural result of gathered mind. Now let us come back to the key message of today. If you chant with a mind that is split, the practice will feel weak, not because the Dharma is weak, but because the container is leaking. If you chant with a mind that is bargaining, the practice will feel tense, because bargaining is not surrender, and surrender is where peace begins. If you chant while feeding fragmentation all day, the practice will feel like trying to stop a storm with a whisper. You can still do it, but you need patience and you need to stop feeding the storm. And if you chant and feel chaos, do not conclude that you are broken. Conclude that you are seeing clearly. Then train gently. Train by returning. Train by simplifying. Train by choosing one method for a while. Train by aligning intention. Train by bringing compassion to your own nervous system. This is how the path becomes stable. And stability is not only for your private peace. Stability makes you a blessing to others. A stable mind listens better. A stable mind does not spread panic. A stable mind does not dump pain onto others. A stable mind can hold someone else without collapsing. That is compassion embodied. Now I want to close by reflecting on what this story might awaken in you. Because many people watching this are not only trying to practice, they are trying to change their destiny. They are trying to stop repeating cycles. They are trying to heal relationships. They are trying to become a person they can respect. If you relate to Aaron, you might feel like you are doing everything and still feeling nothing. If you relate to Maya, you might feel numb and wonder if you have lost the path. If you relate to Daniel, you might feel afraid and think that fear disqualifies you from practice. None of these disqualify you. They are precisely why practice exists. The Buddha did not teach the Dharma for people who already have perfect minds. The Dharma is for the restless mind, the grieving mind, the fearful mind, the angry mind, the mind that wants to be free and does not know how. So, if your chanting feels chaotic, do not treat that as a sign to quit. Treat it as a sign that the mirror is working. Then ask one compassionate question. Can I return once? Not can I become enlightened today? Not can I erase all thoughts? Not can I force a miracle? Just, can I return once? Then return once more. If you do that day after day, something deep shifts. Not in a dramatic movie way, but in a destiny way. Because every return is a seed of awakening. Every return is a seed of wisdom. Every return is a seed of better karma. Every return is a seed of compassion. Every return is practice, and seeds become forests. Before we end, I want to share a small example from someone close to me, because it shows how real this is outside of spiritual language. A friend of mine used to argue with his partner constantly, not because they did not love each other, but because his mind was always ahead, always planning, always correcting, always defending. He began a simple practice, 10 minutes of chanting with true listening, and during the day, one breath before responding in conflict. After a few weeks, his partner said something surprising. You feel different. You feel like you are actually here. That is what gathered mind gives. Presence. Presence is rare. Presence is precious. presence changes relationships. Presence changes how you experience your own life. Presence changes what kind of karma you create. So if you take only one thing from today, take this. Do not measure your practice only by feelings. Measure it by sincerity. Measure it by return. Measure it by whether you are becoming a little more awake, a little more gentle, a little less harmful, a little more compassionate. That is the path. Now I would love to hear from you. Have you ever experienced that strange moment where you practice and feel more chaotic? What do you think was happening in your mind? And what helped you return? If this video spoke to you, please subscribe to the channel so we can keep walking this path together. Like the video if you want more long-form stories and practical Dharma. Leave a comment with your experience, because your story might be the exact medicine someone else needs to hear. And if you want to support the channel more deeply, you can join the membership and help me keep making these long videos that you can listen to like a steady companion. Every person carries a certain energy. Your focus, your dreams, your purpose. Bracelet is a physical reminder of that energy. Symbol you wear daily that pushes you to stay grounded, balanced, and aligned. If one of the bracelets caught your eye, you can order it through the link in the description and check more powerful styles on our homepage store. Choose the one that strengthens your journey.